Hello, everyone. Welcome to Opinions New by Dr. Frank Tianshi. I'm Frank. Okay. In this episode, I'm talking about my title. My topic is Japan lectures China on courtesy and tradition. Okay. Okay. This just 2 months ago in February, a friend of mine from Tokyo, she called me and said, "Hey, have you read about the donation from Japanese society to China on like medical supplies, masks, and those things, and also on the package." There was some ancient poems on there. So my friend in Tokyo, she asked me, "Have you seen that? Have you noticed that?" I said, "Yes, I did. I did notice that." Yes. And she asked me, "How do you feel?" You know, I told her, well, it's good that I don't have my Japanese friends in front of me. Otherwise, I'll feel so ashamed. I will dig a hole in the ground and run into the ground. She said, "Okay, don't worry. You don't need to go underground, but just tell me or share with us your true feelings, and your true thoughts on that, with her and with her friends, maybe also people in Japan." Okay. So this is how the things, evolved. Okay. In February, January and February, when the CCP virus and Wuhan pandemic, it was epidemic then, was just starting. The many people in Japan actually, many non-profit organizations, civilians, they just organize themselves to raise money and to collect medical masks and 95 masks and other medical supplies, and donated them in boxes to China, to Wuhan, right? While they're doing that, what surprised many people in China was that they actually put on the boxes, Chinese characters, right? In addition to the Japanese characters, and they put Chinese characters. They even put the poems on the box, on the labels, and it's very poetic, very beautiful and elegant in masterpieces in literacy. In this episode, I cannot, I don't have an official translation of all those terms. I'll just try my best to translate for you to give you an idea. They're all beautifully written, well written, poetic terms. Just the poems there, right? The one they donated to Wuhan, the city of Wuhan, it basically means "山川异域，风月同天," meaning even our landscapes, our mountains and rivers are in different countries, but we actually share the same heaven and sky. That's one to Wuhan, right? The one to the Hubei province, it says the "其日无一与子同商," meaning, you know, uh, for one day we run out of clothes, but we can at least share clothing with each other. Okay. Another one that was from I think from one Japanese city to the Liaoning province. It says the river of Liao has snow melted, and the mountain in Japan just having some cherry blossom. Yeah, and your river and our mountain, we are actually connected. We are all hoping for the return of spring. Very beautiful. Okay. Another city called Wuhe donated something to the city of Dalian in Liaoning province. It says something like, uh, "We have green mountains there, here, and there. We share the same cloud and same rain. And of course, the two countries, two places, we also share the same beautiful, bright moon. Okay. So, and the thing is, I can't really translate this, into English very well to reflect the true original meaning. But trust me, they're really beautiful and elegant. You know. So, well, the thing is, when the Chinese people, I'm sure the people in China and even people outside of China, like in America or Chinese people here, we really appreciate. Of course, we were admiring the compassion and generosity of the Japanese people. And also they really can you can see they really can, put down the skirmishes or resentments between the two countries, between the two people before. They can really put down those differences. And it's also full of literacy and elegance. So they have a cultural, background that's so deep. They actually, we know some of the Japanese culture, it was from the Tang Dynasty of China, but they could actually use that. They inherited that and used that so well. It's just amazing to the people of China. I think people in China and overseas, we were all astonished. We feel ashamed, right? So, in my view, the Japanese people is actually telling telling Chinese people, or quietly whispering that your lost arts of and tradition you can find here in Japan, right? In one ancient Chinese books, it says, when your courtesy or your protocol is lost, you need to find that in the field or among people. When that court protocol or rules are lost, you should find that in the civilians, in the people. Okay? This poem here on Japanese donation is even though we may have rivers and mountains in different countries, two countries, but really we share the same moon and same sky. The source of this poem is actually quite even more interesting and make Chinese people feel ashamed even further. Right? It's actually in 1,300 years ago. 1,300 years ago, right? The king of China of Japan, was really respectful to the Buddhism tradition, right? And he actually built, or made 1,000 pieces of the Buddhist gongs and donated that to the Tang Dynasty, to the monks, Chinese monk in Tang Dynasty. That's during Tang Dynasty. And on those Buddhist gongs, there were four poems, four verses of the poem, like the mountains and rivers in different countries, but we share the same moon and the sky. And we want to keep this to the students of Buddha so we can foster our future relationship. Okay? So then there was the famous monk of Jain Zhen. When he heard about this, that's 1,000 years ago, and he wanted to go to Japan. He wanted to go to Japan and cross ocean, by boat, to spread Buddhism. That's why the Buddhism, Eastern Buddhism, was spread it to Japan. Okay? Of course, it seemed to me this actually laid the foundation for another Buddha Fa cultivation, you know, a Falun Dafa, to for that set foundation for that to be spread in Japan as well. So basically, when just like it is said in Buddhism literatures, Buddha school literatures, that as soon as one's compassion emerges, that can shake the world of 10 directions. Okay, one thought of compassion can shake the world of 10 directions. So what the Japanese is revealing to the people of China or to Chinese people worldwide, basically, you have a compassion, it can touch everyone, far and wide. Okay? You have a sincerity, it touch people's heart, right? If you can hold those naivety, it can melt ice. And altruism is really the best way, is way to go, right? So really, we all should really, cultivate or improve ourselves, and immoral cultivation is very important. This actually reminded me of my experience dealing with Japanese people. Right? I remember the first time I went to Japan. That was in the winter of 2007 winter time. You know, at that time I was on the faculty of Drexel University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Right? And I became friend with a Japanese professor there, management professor Kurokawa, Mr. Sam Kurokawa. Right? Sam is a brilliant guy. Dr. Sam Kurokawa. He graduated from MIT with a management degree. And one day, Sam said, "Hey, Frank, want to come over to my office for coffee?" I said, "Okay, sure, love to. I would like to chat with him, right?" And then I went there and we drank coffee and chatted and we became friends. Right? And then we got a scholarship research fund together and conducted some research. And because of research, we need to collect data, field data, field trip. That's why I went to Japan, and he went to Japan. We went to Japan. Right? And of course, but later on, Dr. Kurokawa died, and was very sad. I was saddened, very unfortunate. Okay. So when I went to Japan for the first time, the impression I got about Japanese people is that they are very they have a compassion, right? But kind of a cool compassion. The people are cool. It seem on surface they seem to be very cool, keeping distance, but really in the heart they're really compassionate, kind to you, right? It's kind of like elegance. That's kind of like blue type of elegance, right? And they're really deep in their thinking and their thought process. The Japanese people are overall they're very humble, right? Very confident, very sincere, and very persistent, very courteous. Okay? The way they treat foreigners, including Chinese people, I don't think they have much prejudice. When the foreigners spoke broken Japanese, I tried to learn some speak some Japanese while I was in Japan, or speak English that they couldn't fully understand, but they're always, patient and courteous. Okay? I also remember one gentleman, old gentleman. He was a chairman of the board of a Japanese nonprofit organization called Japan uh, Contribution and Support Organization, something kind of like a nonprofit to help support other countries. Okay? He told me that many of the characteristics of Japanese people and their opinions or their attitudes, affected, uh, the world, including the popular culture, social engineering, uh, values and the traditions and the modernization. Many things actually, the world we see today is actually from Japan. I believe that. I think he's right. And we learned a lot from Japan, not just technology, but also culture as well. Right? The Japanese could be proud of their accomplishment. They have this Confucius tradition. Japanese society very safe. You know, medical medical care, health care for everyone. And amazingly, even though as a nation, Japan has created so much wealth, and then they don't have really have too many super wealthy people. 90% of people of Japan in Japan belong to the middle class, and quite amazing. I think if I look at Japanese people, they're humble. right? They're very courteous, but they're also very down to earth, right? They have their pride, but they're also very independent. Okay, they will maintain their thought, their ideals, and don't just easily follow other people. Okay, and they would argue with you sincerely if they think that something is correct. Okay, then if you truly understand those Japanese people, their characteristic like that, then we can understand why they were, behaving like that so eloquently and elegantly in their donations to Wuhan, to China. Right? Well, many people talk about the success, Japanese success, right? The success of Japan, in my view, in Japanese people, their success, in my view, one of them is grit, right? They can focus on one thing, do anything, one thing, with a lot of attention, very special attention, very focused, laser focused, right? So we can see the Japanese people, Japanese products, all those electronics, cars, everything is so dedicated, attention to details, you know, superior quality, right? I think the reason for that is because they can calm down. You can see they are hard, right? They can calm down to focus, to concentrate, right? If you cannot calm down or focus, you will not excel, right? You will not be extraordinary, right? But why can some people, many people, not calm down? I think it's because you have too much desire. These are too much desire. Desire for material interest, benefits, and too much competitive mentality, and that's why. But that's a different subject. Okay. So basically, today, even today, the whole world has been, experiencing the Wuhan pandemic, the CSP virus. But also, if you look at the world today, we have seen those sinkholes everywhere, right? Tornadoes, earthquakes, even the locust, right? You see the locust, large locust, eating up all the crops in Africa and maybe getting to China. So really, I think our world is really in bad shape. They say it's in trouble. Our world is in trouble. When we see that when human beings are staying in homes, we found that the environment is getting better. You see the water quality in those canals in Venice and in many other places in the country, in the world, they're getting cleaner water and everything, right? The air pollution is down. Okay. Well, I was, actually pondering over this Japanese elegance and rich cultural traditions. And I got the recommendation on social media by Professor Zheng in Taiwan. He recommended the Japanese song, and I listened to that. I was shocked, and it's very touching and moving. This is actually a song by Miss Sasaki Nahoko. Sasaki Nahoko. She was singing the famous Japanese song called "The Moon of the Deserted City." The Moon of the Deserted City. Okay? You can find that. I'm sure you can find that the song on YouTube or elsewhere. Right? This song itself, "The Moon of the Deserted City," has a history of 100 years already. Yeah. When and what's her name again? Sasaki Nohoko. When she sung that, I found, and I was listening to the song and look at the words. I found that really that's actually a true reflection. This is from 100 years ago of what we are experiencing today. Okay. Again, I'm just give you a rough translation of the words by Sasaki here, right? The deserted moon of the desert moon of deserted city. Okay? The words of the song is a poem again, and it goes something like that, right? When it's a high spring season, right? and this high with the old buildings and old flowers and old banquets. People are happily sharing or cheering and drinking, right? And you can see the moons above the pine trees of thousand years. But then, where can you find the old sceneries, old pictures, or old images? Okay. The next line is when it's winter time. I'm sorry, autumn time. When when the snow is falling, winter or fall, when snow is coming, right? You see the swallows or birds, in clear skies, and then you see, the soldiers fighting with swords and the mountains with knives. Where could you find the old images or old sceneries, right? I think that the reason this touched me is that they really talk about the people today. We may be enjoying a happy life with the materialism and all the wealth, everything, and we might uh, we may have to face something harsh in the days to come. Okay? But anyway, so I think the people in China and Chinese people everywhere in the world, we are grateful to the Japanese people, to Japan, not just for their mask and personal protective, clothing, everything, and also their reminder, the spiritual reminder. They show us the elegancy and sincerity of a good neighbor. In this world today, it's really hard to get. Okay? And behind that is really the light of a tradition and culture. So we really should be thankful, as my Japanese friend told me, to the Japanese people, because they have just reminded us of something that our Chinese ancestors 1,000 years ago reminded us, but something that we have lost in our heritage. Okay, at this episode of Opinions New by Frank. Okay, I'll talk to you next time.